never ratified it, so it's just floating out there. Is that true? I don't know.
That is absolutely true, yes.
I'm pretty sure that's what I've heard of that story. But so it's not like a concrete change. And then the other one I mentioned earlier is ban like cyborgizing Supreme Court justices so they can live forever.
So you don't want them to live forever?
I don't want them to live forever because then we'd be stuck with all the same ones forever. Like at some point we'd figure out that's bad.
Cyborg?
No, that's scary.
A Gorborg?
A Gorborg.
Stuff of nightmares.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Hannah?
Okay. There's so many. So I'll pick one. I mean, I'll just rewrite the whole thing if you'd like. But
do you think you could write one that's better than what we currently have?
With some help.
Okay.
Well, we got the whole team here.
Yeah.
We got a drafting board right here.
Cool. Well, when we all have some extra time, which is what our schedules are designed for. But I'm going to just pick one for right now, or maybe two. So I'm going to go with, I would add a public trust doctrine clause. So I would basically constitutionalize environmental law. Public trust is an environmental doctrine that says, so if you have any wills and trusts experience with the law, a trust relationship, you have the trust, you have the trustee, and you have the beneficiary. So the trustee holds the items in the trust for the benefit of the beneficiary and is obligated to manage them to the benefit of the beneficiary. That's how a lot of really wealthy families manage their wealth over the eons and stuff. But in the environmental sense, the public trust doctrine says that the public lands and waters and the air, is all part of the public trust, and the government is the trustee. The public are the beneficiary. So the government has the duty to manage natural resources to the benefit of the public as a whole. And it's been, Pennsylvania has it in their constitution, and it's led to some pretty cool decisions there. And there's been a lot of discussion over the years about how it could be applied. Joseph Sachs was a guy who looked at it a lot in the 70s and argued for the extension of the public trust. And number two, I would no more banning dogs. I want to be able to take my dog everywhere. It's stupid.
Or maintaining the environment at the benefit of the people, the public, the beneficiaries. So say fracking. Now, there's an interest in fracking that it's energy. It's something that provides millions and millions of Americans with, sustainable energy or for whatever. So do you see how that could possibly be implicated by that law or whatever, saying that the benefit is that everyone gets energy as opposed to, some detriment to the environment in a localized area?
Right. Well, it would allow us to have that discussion. And the special thing about, at least the way I would write my public trust doctrine, is it's the public for the future. So you have to take into account future generations. So our immediate energy needs, if there was some sort of balancing test that would be set up, there would the rights of the public would include present and future rights of the public. So the likelihood that immediate energy needs are going to outweigh that, it'd be possible, but it'd have to be kind of a really dire circumstance. So
that's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm. Anthony?
Me?
You, Anthony, yeah.
If I were to change one thing, I would probably change Article 3 of the Constitution, which is about lifelong tenure of federal justices. I think that these guys are in here too long. I understand the principle of lifelong tenure, the fact that we're based on stare decisis, and that precedence of prior law is, the foundation of why we have these judges who are always, or justices that are here to set the precedent going forward, and having that, the same person being able to make those decisions is supposed to be more, I guess, objective, and the fact that you don't have the idea of switching hands and all the laws being repealed and stuff every few years, I could see why that's a benefit. But at the same time, too, these laws the Constitution was written where, the life expectancy was maybe 50. If you were rich and you had a good life and you had adequate supplies of medicine or wherever. So I could see where, lifelong tenure only works for so long. And we're looking now, Sandra Day O'Connor, who, was diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. These are diseases that affect a lot of the older generations. So, how much of these, health concerns play an impact with our elder judges? and justices.
And what's interesting is she could actually
Ageism.
still be on the Supreme Court if she had wanted to be. There's nothing that says that she couldn't have still been on it even if she was diagnosed. So,
Right.
I guess we're just lucky that she thought of it ahead of time and took herself off the bench in the mid-2000s time frame. So.
Well, and I know that we have kind of rules of thumbs, like after 75 or whatever, you kind of go on inactive status or whatever that term is. But, I mean, as a point of the Constitution, you are constitutionally allowed to serve on the federal justice until you're not fit or die or whatever. So
Kavanaugh's term is about up then, right? I've been counting. It's been like
I think so, yeah.
been like
Pretty close.
a couple of weeks now. It's feeling real long.
I think that's interesting. I think maybe if we had like a 16-year period or something like that where they sat on the bench, and I think maybe even a thought of mine would be actually writing an amendment where, they have these term limits for 12, 16 years, however it is, and you obviously break it up into a couple different sections, but then also making it so that you either need a strong majority or like a 60 vote threshold or even a supermajority to actually approve them in. I think that would reduce the amount of kind of these extreme justices who clearly the public doesn't want them to be in the position, and clearly a strong minority doesn't want them to be on the court either.
right.
I think it should all be Hunger Games style. They fight to the death every year. And then
Every year?
So
Yeah.
RBG is just
Then one survives and you appoint 8 new ones.
there we go.
Joe?
Welcome to Thunderdome. I guess since it's election day, maybe I didn't really give this much thought beforehand, so I'm kind of winging it. But I think we need to explore something about campaign reform, about how much money these candidates have in these pools and how this money gets into the pools. It seems like it's pretty one-sidedly rigged for the super rich to maintain these public offices, where we're not getting a diverse set of candidates like farmers and scientists. It's just
Money.
business, wealth, just over and over again. It's just a system that just keeps going and going.
See, you guys, I can't agree with the soldier.
There you go.
There we
Was
go.
that the first time?
Probably not.
I think for me, so, men, we've had a good run. We were the sole gender to be able to vote for the first 150 years of the life of this nation. I think maybe we should make an amendment that for the next 150 years, only women are allowed to vote.
That's sexist. And actually anti-feminist.
I think we get some good outcomes, though.
That also sexist, also anti-feminist. You're
You
assuming
don't
that.
think so?
Yeah, I mean, you're putting women in a category as though they are somehow a more virtuous group. I mean,
And you're making it sound like
me-
for the past 150 years, the men made all the right decisions. But they did
No,
not.
I'm
he's-
saying the
yeah,
exact
he's saying the
opposite of that.
Yeah.
So, like, if you put the women in charge, who says that they're going to make better decisions?
It's a good point. I'm just thinking of, like, equaling it out a little bit. Like, we had the first 150.
Because if we're going to have,
like
like,
your
we get the next
reparations,
150.
like-
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
You take the wheel of this flaming bus.
Right?
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
that'd be interesting.
Keep our beers in the back. Like girls.
I guess on a more serious one, probably making an amendment on gerrymandering of districts. I think definitely what 2010 taught us, and what we've learned about science and technology is you can really identify people very strategically and make districts that are shaped any way you want, so that you maintain power, not based on the votes, but based on how well you can identify a certain block of people that fit into your political ideologies. So I think if I were to change the Constitution, it would be to address that kind of system.
Packing and cracking.
Yeah. So on another note, also sticking in the Trump theme, and I guess
The Trump
the
theme.
Trump theme. It's like we can never get away from the guy. So recently, a caravan full of migrants headed to the border. They're actually like a month away or something like that.
Even more.
Or
yeah.
even more, like a month or two away. Obviously, they want to make it a big deal before Election Day. Trump has said that he is going to, or I think he already has, deployed troops, and that if they enter, that the troops might be able to, he kind of insinuated that if there was any sort of, attempt for the migrants to enter, in a physical fashion, that they should be, met kind of disproportionately by a rifle. Just kind of wanted to get your guys' perspective on that. We have a military man in here right now who might be able to give us some perspective on those kind of marching orders would look like, and specifically going to the border. So
it's interesting, and maybe people want to agree with my opinions or not, but so you have an entire caravan of migrant people come in who they are going to come to the border. Now, I understand that the United States has an asylum system and refugee system. They can allow citizens who are fleeing countries where there is a lot of political violence, a lot of gang-related violence and stuff. They can seek asylum in the United States. And I understand that. At the same time, too, and this boils way back down to the political side, but it's all about immigration reform. I mean, I can see why people are upset that these people are going to come in, say, illegally, because they're crossing the border without getting any other papers. They're coming to seek asylum. Now, it's legal to seek asylum. But I think that with this caravan, I think it's perpetuating I think that they are going to use this as a tool to, I don't know, I for some reason I just feel it as a big publicity stunt in a sense on both sides, because, the right is obviously making it about a matter of national security, and the left side is about people trying to bring refugees in for sanctuary. But I don't know. I'm on the fence on both sides. Like I would always want to help, and I would reach out to people who need help. But at the same time, too, like I can see why people are upset that they're not coming in legally. Now,
but aren't they? But they kind of are coming.
They are
in
coming in legally if
though.
they're coming in seeking asylum, and that's why I think it. It's kind of a balancing act. I mean, I can see why people are upset that they're not coming in per se illegally, because I think it's more of like, are they really seeking asylum, or what are they really running from? And I don't know. Like, I just don't know a lot about the political environment that they are coming from, so I can't give any kind of opinion on that. But I can see both sides of the argument of why it is beneficial and why it is, a matter of national security in the eyes of the right.
I personally cannot see both sides. They're civilians, and Trump has said through his statements and other ways too, like if people are even throwing rocks, they deserve to be met with lethal force, around like the same time as he's ordering like military troops to go meet these unarmed civilians at the border. I think it's absurd, and the political situation that they're running from is enough to make them like walk up here. Like that alone should be some kind of sign that like they're coming from something really pretty bad. And the U.S. has probably been complicit in creating those situations as well, especially.
Right.
So,
right, for sure.
How many people on a 2,000-mile walk?
Yeah, they're just going for a little walk, just to make a
little
statement.
jaunt.
I mean, people do that, but
Oregon Trail is the last time I kind of remembered.
So yeah, I'm very, very concerned about this. I think it's going to turn out really badly, and I'm not sure what to do about it. So,
Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess on the aspect of troops being deployed to secure the borders, I can't envision that it'd be a direct action scenario where it'd be maybe to observe, maybe assist with Border Patrol. The Department of Defense has much deeper pockets than these other agencies. They have more night vision, more thermal, what have yous. But I can't envision U.S. soldiers on the border engaging unarmed civilians. Like these individuals, these units they're trained, they're professionals. They don't just kill people for no reason. That's not how the U.S. military has been trained. That's not the mission
there's
we have.
How
specific
would you
rules
have
of
felt
engagement
about it?
while you're
Like-
in the Middle East too. I mean, there's specific rules of engagement. So
These are probably National Guard guys, right? Like, how would you have felt?
Yeah, more likely it would be National Guard under the discretion of the governor. They would be briefed on what their escalation of force needs to look like. If X happens, then you can do Y. But there's mitigation steps. There's less than